Buongiorno. Well, good morning. Well, good afternoon. Well, I don't know. It's hi. We're home and look who's back. Woo, look who we got. Suki. Where's the baby?
Suki, look.
Who is it? Hi, baby. Hi. Who is it? Baby. Hi, Angel. Hi. Hi, baby. Hi. Hi, baby. Hi. Oh my God. Hi. Oh, you're so fat. Oh my God. Hi, baby. Hi, Angel.
Sleeping on my bed.
Oh. So, just picked up the baby, and then we were in 2 hours of traffic. Suki was very upset, and so was I, but we're okay. We're together again, so that's what matters. But anyway, we're home, and I wanted to just tell you everything is fine. We're here, and I just kind of wanted to do a little talking, a little check-in, and I kind of wanted to spill the tea on all the drama, the trauma, the ridiculousness of the whole, the everything that went wrong, could go wrong. Okay, bye. And everything we pretty much endured just to get to and from Sicily. Like, traveling is no longer, it's just not, I mean, it was never easy, but for whatever reason, it is now, it feels more likely that something or many things or all the things are going to go wrong. I literally, aside from that, everything went wrong. Everything else. I do want to talk about other things, but this video is strictly everything that went wrong. I think it's fair to give you the reality of what we went through, not just, you know, the airlines that we used, and but also like what they did that really messed us up, and the steps that we are going to take to fix that, and hopefully they will rectify what they did. So what they did wrong. So if you remember from the very beginning, when we were going to leave for Italy, the day we were going to leave, we got a message, thank goodness, we got a message on the app, a text message, and an email telling us that just a few hours before we were supposed to leave, our flight was canceled. Here's why this was a huge issue. I don't have, from where I am in the northeast area, Newark is where I generally like to fly out of, there are no direct flights to Sicily. So, and I don't do, when I'm doing long trips, any trips, when I do trips, I don't like to do connecting flight situations or stops. I don't do stops either. I do direct flights. That's just, trust me, it's worth spending the extra money for the time and everything else, because in the end, you save money, you save stress, you save yourself from a lot of headache. So I only do direct flights. Now, there are no direct flights to Sicily from where I am. So we're going to take a direct non-stop flight, red-eye, from Newark to Rome, and then from Rome to Sicily. Now, I chose my dates specifically because the airport that I wanted to fly to, Comiso, is a very small airport, and it has very, very limited amount of flights and companies that fly there. So I had to choose my days very specifically because On some days, they don't have any flights. On some days, most days they only have one flight, and that can be either in the afternoon or in the late evening. I specifically chose the 11th, leaving the 11th red-eye, arrived the 12th, and then our flight to Sicily from United to Aero Italia was going to be at 1 p.m. So we were going to fly in, and we were going to be there at 8:30, I think, because we chose a later flight. It was like a later flight. And then our flight to Sicily was going to be 1 p.m. So the amount of waiting wasn't going to be anything crazy. When United canceled our flight, and the only flight that I could get was the next day, that meant that not only did I lose a day, I lost 2 days, because from United, the next flight to Sicily because I was supposed to arrive the 12th, I arrived the 13th, wasn't until 9 p.m. I arrived at 6:30 in the morning in Rome, and I didn't get on the plane because, once again, Aero Italia was 2 hours delayed. I didn't get on the plane until 11:30 at night. That is 18 hours in the airport. 18 hours of waiting to go to Sicily. Now, I asked the Aero Italia kiosks, and anytime I saw anybody who was working for Aero Italia, I said, hey, if you can get to me to Catania, can I take this earlier flight? Because they had an 11 o'clock, and then they had a 2:30. And any of those would have been incredible options, even if it was Catania. Catania is about an hour and a half from Villa Ama. Better options than waiting and not getting to Comiso until after midnight. Technically, since we left the 12th, arrived the 13th, we didn't get to Sicily until the 14th. Now, because it was a red eye, we also didn't get much sleep. That basically means that the last time we slept was the 11th. And since we didn't arrive to Sicily until the 14th, we didn't sleep for 2 days. 2 days. Because United canceled our first flight, and then Aero Italia was 2 hours delayed, which brought us to the 14th to be in Sicily. It was nightmarish. What I would do differently, lessons learned. So, my father told us that there was a hotel, kind of like you can sleep in little pods or whatever. They had little rooms that were right, like almost, you just have to go past baggage claim and through these terminal tunnels to get to. I believe it was called, this is what I would do. If our flight is canceled or something happens where we can't leave until hours into the day, what I would do is I would get one of these rooms, even though it would cost me. I would charge it to United because it is their fault. I would get one of these rooms, and then I would rest for as long as I needed to rest. You can rent it for 3 hours or 6 hours or overnight if you want. I would do the full 6 hours. I would probably rest for 3 or 4 of those hours, and then the last 2 hours, I would keep our bags in there because who wants to travel with that? I would take a train into Rome, explore Rome, adventure around, and then come back. But we could also rent lockers if we really wanted to, or maybe there's a lounge and maybe they would allow us to kind of leave our stuff there. I would see about that. But anyway, go to Rome, rested, enjoy, kind of get some gelato and have some pizza, and then I would come back. We'd go through customs, we'd go through passport, we'd go through all that stuff, security, and then I would fly into Sicily. Lessons were learned. So should that ever happen again, Please let me remember to rent a room, rest up, because I never sleep on the plane. It feels impossible. It's exhausting. And trust me, there are people that make it impossible. But I'll get to that. So anyway, lessons learned. That was the first fiasco. And the second fiasco, I lost about 3 days of our adventure to Sicily and time with my parents, which is very upsetting because I already have a very limited amount of time with them. And so to lose that, and then I had shortened my trip already because we had some film projects that we had to come back for, which is amazing and great. And I'm not complaining about that. I just mean I'm used to spending more time there, and cutting it short just made it all the more important that we get there when we had planned to be there in the first place. Now, once we got there, it was fine because Comiso Airport is very easy. There are 2 baggage claims. Now, as a traveler, as a well-rounded traveler and somebody who likes to make life as easy as possible, but also a little bit difficult, I learned to try to avoid any checked baggage. And that is because too much can go wrong. Your stuff can get lost. It can end up in a different city, in a different country. I feel better having all of my stuff with me at all times. Now, the stressful part of that for me, I have gotten a lot of ish before for having my 22-inch carry-on. The 22-inch carry-on from Solgaard is totally acceptable in America. I never get any issues with it on American flights, domestic, or any other way. It's the European planes that are smaller that might give you an issue. So I was stressing a little bit about my bigger carry-ons. However, I will say this, the silver lining is I got 0 pushback on any of my bags. And not only did I have my carry-ons, I also brought a snack bag because I hated how my striped bag would be full of snacks, and I was like, now I don't have any extra room for anything else that I might need that's extra, be it my socks or anything, any camera gear, anything like that, shoes, whatever. They would be full of snacks or comforts for the plane when I could just have a little snack bag, and I never got any issue or pushback for that. So having a snack bag, because people buy stuff at the airport. They're not going to tell you you can't bring the food that you got at the airport. Like, they're not going to punish you for that. So I learned to have a snack bag where I have all my snacks, anything that I buy at the airport or whatever. I have a specific little baggie for it, and I never got any issues for it. And then I can, it just makes life so much easier. So it would be just like a little plastic bag or a bag that was clearly a shopping bag, and they understood what it was, I got no issues. And also the fact that I didn't get any issues with my 22-inch carry-on, that was also a relief, and I feel more confident traveling with it because I know it can be an issue. Now, I will say for the smaller airlines like Aero Italia, Ryanair, Wizz Air, stuff like that, bringing carry-ons will cost you. They will charge you extra for 1 carry-on, 2 carry-ons, and you are only limited to 2 carry-ons, and sometimes they will weigh those carry-ons as well. And they also have little things for you to make sure that your bags fit in the size container, right? Now, my bags will fit in all of those containers and all those little size things, but the weight might for as the size that they are might be a little heavier than expected. I did get away a lot of times though, even when they had those restrictions in Asia when we went to Thailand. So I guess it's really up to the discretion of whoever is checking you in and whether they want to create a problem or not. And for me, in that regard, I didn't have any issues. So That's a positive. But this is about the tea and my frustrations. So now we go to as we're leaving. Genuinely did not think leaving was going to be as ridiculous as it was. I really didn't. So we're halfway through. We have 1 week left, about maybe less than a week left with my parents. And my mom says to me, "Oh, you're leaving Tuesday, right?" And I'm like, "No, we're leaving Wednesday, the 28th. And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, what time? Like, what time are you landing?" And all this other stuff. And I'm like, "You know what? Let me just check the app so that I know exactly what the times are exactly, and we can kind of plan ahead." So I check the Aero Italia app, which, by the way, is absolute garbage. It's trash. It is horrible. It very rarely updates, and when it does, it is often wrong. It's a whole situation. So I check the app, and all of a sudden, instead of 7:10 in the morning, it now says 18:45, which is 6:45 at night. And I'm like, no, I didn't make this mistake. There's no way, especially because European times, when it's in the PM, it goes from 13 to, 24. So I knew a morning flight versus an evening flight, but I felt so gaslit. I was like, I don't understand. Why does my flight suddenly say evening? Why does it suddenly say 6:45 at night? This is impossible. I know I didn't mess this up. So I checked the emails. I look at my emails, and my emails originally said 7:10 a.m., August 28th. And I was like, yep, that checks out. And then I see an email from August 14th, which is technically the day we got to Sicily. And the day I had only had 0 hours of sleep and had not slept for 2 days. So I missed it because not only did I not get a text message from Aero Italia, I also didn't get an app update or notification, but only this email to tell me that my flight was changed from 7:10 in the morning and moved not 1 hour, not 2 hours, but almost 12-hour difference from my original 7:10 in the morning to 6:45 at night. You can't just change a flight like that. You can't, and they did. That's what they did. And instead of notifying, calling, texting, updating the app to notify me, they sent an email after I had 0 hours of sleep for 2 days. So I missed it. So obviously, that's a problem. Now, I have to change my flight from the 28th to the 27th, which means that is less time I get to be with my parents again. Once again, our time has been cut off even more so. I now no longer have a full day with my family. It is now less than that, and then sometime in Rome, and then we leave in the afternoon in Rome. And if you know anything about airports, you have to be there hours beforehand, because otherwise you can miss your flight. Between security, passport, all that stuff. Trust me, be there early. So, sorry. My throat is dry because I'm still recovering from that dry airplane. So, now I have to spend money to spend a night there so that I can catch my flight the next day. And I have to change my ticket to the day before, the 27th now instead of the 28th, so that I can catch my flight. It took almost 3 hours to reach someone on Aero Italia. We called and we were on the phone because I had checked in to the flight that was supposed to be at 7:10 in the morning. I couldn't change or modify the flight that they changed, and I had to call. 3 hours, and it hung up twice on us. Ridiculous. I mean, literally insane. Just outrageously frustrating. Now I'm trying to find my zen, find my peace. It is out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. It is what it is. So I just took a deep breath, and hubby found a way to get through. He said that, the flight was, here's a tip and trick. Tell them, the operator or whatever, that your flight is within 48 hours and hopefully they'll pick up sooner. I don't know if it works, but it seemed to work when he said that my flight was within 48 hours, and so we got to someone. Unfortunately, they answered in Italian, which confused hubby because he was like, wait, did I click on the wrong number? And they're like, oh no, that's just how we welcome people. And it's like, maybe welcome them in English when we clicked on the English. Anyway, it's so stupid and not important. So they changed the flight, no issues. They accept that we need to leave the day before. They don't even really bother asking us why we're changing the flight. They just kind of do it without any questions asked. We check the app to make sure that it's been updated, and it has. And then I try to get the boarding pass, and it says that I can't get the boarding pass. It's unacceptable. I cannot check in. And then when I'm finally able to check in and get my boarding pass, the old boarding pass pops up, which is the one for the 28th at 6:45 at night, not the 27th. And now I'm panicking. Eventually, the app writes itself and we get the correct boarding passes, and it isn't an issue until we get on the plane. Now, I had paid, when I checked in, I decided, you know what? Why don't I just get the front row? It's, we can figure out where to put our bags, not a big deal. And it just makes life easier. Plus, it's a lot cooler shot to not have any seats in front of you and kind of see the doors close and everything. So I paid to move to the front row, which it allowed me to do. We get there, and once we get on the plane, I realize that they charged me to go to the front row, but on my boarding pass, it never populated as the first row, and they gave it to someone else. It gets worse. So my original row was the second one, which isn't a big deal. I was like, all right, it's whatever. It cost me $6 to move to the front, the very first row, $6 lost that I won't get back, which is kind of frustrating. I'm going to dispute that with my credit card. But anyway, it is what it is. In the second row are these two people. I guess they were handicapped in some way. All of their bags had taken up the space in the front, and they were sitting in our second row. And now I'm like, what is happening? The steward says, I will explain once we get everyone on the plane, but you can sit here in the third row. Now, not only do we have to move our bags behind us, which you never want to do, you always want your bags to be in front of you because it makes it so much easier because that's the direction you're going. If they're behind you, now you have to go push past people to get your bags, and it is so frustrating, and it can be a little stressful because nobody wants to move or help you in any way, generally speaking, and it just sucks. So he comes back and he's like, yeah, I moved them to the second row. I hope you understand. And I was like, I don't. I don't understand. And he's like, well, thank you for your patience. I hope you don't mind. If nobody sits in this first row here on the right side, you can have it. I'm confident nobody's going to sit there. People sat there. And I was like, you know what? I just rather would have the third row with the one seat between us, and, you know, we don't have to be near anybody. Until two toddlers end up behind me and are kicking and screaming the entire time. Granted, thank God the flight is only an hour long, but an hour of kicking my seat and screaming toddlers. It wasn't fun. And not only that, the flight was an hour delayed. It was an hour behind. So we actually didn't leave until we were supposed to already be in Rome. Yeah. So that was upsetting because I was really hoping to be there and by 8, so at the latest, so that maybe we could get settled and then take a train into Rome and just, you know, run around and get some cool things. But we didn't get there until after 9:30. It is what it is. We land. We get to the hotel. It's nice enough. It is what it is. It's fine. No big deal. After that, we don't have a gate for our flight home, United to Newark, Rome to Newark, Fiumicino to Newark, until I would say probably about 2 hours before. And we got to the airport early, not just because obviously it's good to be there early, but we also wanted to try the VAT, getting money back with from the taxes that we paid that we don't have to pay because, you get a form, it's a whole thing. I'll explain all that. Anyway, so we're there early. We finally get our gate. They change the gate once, which is pretty good for Italy, I'll say that. But then it comes to, I'm always group 2 because I have the United card. These people started to push in, and instead of standing in line, they stood in between group 1 and group 2 and stood right there. And they weren't pushing into group 1. And so they forced their way and cut everyone off in group 2, and then didn't even get on the flight. If you're going to try and force yourself to be on the plane early, the point is to get on the plane so that you have room to put your stuff. Anyway, I was frustrated because they forced themselves to cut in front of everyone, and I thought that was ridiculous, but whatever. Now, the flight was a half hour delayed, and they made no explanation why. They didn't apologize for why. And I ended up with someone behind me who was coughing, hacking, and kicking my seat for 9 hours of that flight. I tried to close my eyes. Hubby let me put my legs up on him so that I could breathe and just let my feet get warm because because I'm so short that they kind of dangle a little bit. They don't touch the ground. That sounds so ridiculous. But because they dangle, they can't get warm. I can't explain it. So when I get to raise my legs up, hubby will keep my feet warm and the blood circulation is better. So my feet get warm and eventually I can get comfortable. And usually if my feet are warm, I can sleep. This woman, there was no reason, kicked my seat the entire flight and was hacking and coughing. And not because the air was dry. It was that phlegmy, I'm sick cough, and of course, no mask. Now, I travel with a mask, and if no one around me is sick, I generally feel comfortable enough not to feel like I have to have it on the entire time, or I won't have it if it's a short enough flight. But I always have a mask on me just in case. I had to wear my mask the entire flight because this woman, I guess she didn't want to cough on the couple next to her. Instead, you know that little gap between the seats, would cough in that gap on me and kick my seat. Meanwhile, next to us and in front of us are two toddlers. Now, the little girl was quiet and wonderful and very sweet, but the little boy was a little demon and was screaming the entire flight and crying and just being just like so overdramatic, and he actually threw a full water bottle at hubby's head and hit him in the head. And instead of reprimanding him, they were like, oh, are you okay? It just, what the hell? It was ridiculous. Listen, I don't generally complain about travel because I expect things to go wrong. I expect things to be ridiculous sometimes, but it was so much. It was too much. And so all of these things cumulatively coming together in the most ridiculous ways, if it could go wrong, it did. So the cancellations, the delays, the changing of the time of the flight. I didn't even know that was a possible thing. Like almost 12-hour difference. Like I didn't know that was even a thing. The coughing and hacking, like sometimes I expect it, but wear a mask. If you know you're sick, be mindful, be demercy, be like just, is it so hard to be conscious and, I don't know, like just aware of the people around you? We are in a confined space. We have no choice but to be near each other, next to each other, if you know you are sick. And you have to get on this plane and you have to go somewhere. At the very least, wear a mask and protect the people around you. I don't want to be sick on my vacation, and I don't want to be sick coming home. I don't want to be sick when I'm home. I don't want to be sick, period, ever. Which is why I don't trust anyone, and I still bring my mask because, God damn it, it's ridiculous anymore. And I don't know. I know this video is coming out like as me being a whiny jerk or whatever, but I want you to be aware that even though I am generally a positive and happy facade of a person, and actually am genuinely a positive person, especially now, travel is hard and it seems to be only getting more difficult. And I want you to be aware that even though I get to where I'm going and my adventures are amazing and I still love travel, there are a lot of things that can go wrong that make travel very difficult. And not only difficult, but hard to enjoy. I have never been a journey person. I have always been a destination person. You know, people who say, oh, you know, don't worry about the destination, enjoy the journey. No. No. Get me to where I want to be. Like if I could, if somebody asked me, what special power would you like to have? It would be that I could transport myself and whatever I wanted or whoever I wanted immediately. If I had to walk through a portal or create a portal and be somewhere, like, you know, Mr. Strange kind of ish or Doctor Strange kind of ish, that would be the magic power that I would want. To just, boop, now I'm in France, boop, a second later I'm in, I don't know, England, boop, another, you know, Abu Dhabi. You know what I'm saying? Like, the journey, I hate it. And that's like, that kind of goes for everything with me. Like, losing the weight was not fun. get me to this part. So, you know, I feel like I'm not alone in that. But, this video has been long enough. I am exhausted. I am still jet lagged. Obviously, I came home yesterday. And I just wanted to update you on everything that happened, but also give you kind of a little bit of a reality check and spill the tea on the ridiculousness that travel can be, because there was not one flight that went exactly according to plan. Not one. Thank goodness it was only 4 flights this trip, because last year it was like 8 flights. And those went pretty well, but I don't know what it is. It's just been getting harder and harder to fly. Things have been a challenge. Planes have been unsafe, and pilots are hard to find, crew are hard to find. It is, and more people are traveling, which I don't understand, because who has the money? I don't even have the money. I'm staying with my parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am using every advantage I have so that I could go on these adventures. Like, I'm using every privilege so that I could do a trip like this, something people only dream about. I am privileged enough to be able to have a place where I don't have to worry about, paying for where I'm staying unless I leave Villa Ama or whatever, or paying for food generally, because my parents take care of us, They really are amazing and never ask for anything in return, and I'm very privileged and very blessed in a lot of ways. And even though this episode is become kind of like a shit list of shit that just happened, I also recognize how blessed I am to even have had the opportunity to do any of this to begin with. So don't get me wrong. This stuff is hard. Like, traveling is hard. But in the end, if you are privileged and blessed enough to be able to travel, recognize that and be grateful for the adventure that follows. And I think that's why I really didn't get too upset with the stuff as it was happening, because I also recognize the fact that I have tickets to go anywhere in the first place, to experience these things in the first place. That's a blessing on its own, I honestly feel bad for the people who endure those types of things and, don't get to go travel a lot, and that is their like 1 or 2 experiences of traveling, and it's an awful experience. Like, that's not fair, I mean, life's not fair, obviously. Nobody has the privileges that I have, and I don't have the privileges of other people, It is what it is, but shit goes wrong. Stuff is hard. Life is not fair and all that other stuff, but it's also important to be grateful for the stuff that you have and the things that do go right, and the time that you can spend with the people that you love. That's important too. So I wanted to end with a positive note, and I feel like that was pretty positive. Despite the crazy chaos of travel lately. I'm sure it will be better. Hopefully sooner. Maybe the next trip. We'll see. But anyway, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Until next time.